Boston. It was tied at the end of regulation, and it was dominated by the Celtics in overtime. Jason Tatum had a breakthrough performance. What do you think about his 41 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assist game?
I want to shout my brother, Ime Udoka, who's a friend of the show, for getting his first win. The other thing I want to acknowledge is Jaylen Brown has gotten off to a blistering start this year. Next, it was great to see Jason Tatum play like an all-NBA version of himself. And I have to say, this was an exciting regular season league pass basketball game.
Yes.
Overtime, double-digit win, but clearly it was closer the entire way. A lot of small ball, a lot of dribble passing and shooting. Miles Bridges is playing terrific also this year. But what about our guy, LaMelo Ball? You know what I mean? Like, he balls every night. Every night. The basketball has kinetic energy. He passes, people run. They jump. You see that to Bridges? Look at that action. You see that secondary break to drop the Bridges?
With his left hand?
The left hand pull. And by the way, here's what I love about nephew. Somebody told him one day that he couldn't shoot. So you know what he was like? Not only am I going to prove my shot, but I'm going to shoot all threes. I want to shoot all threes. He took 14 of them yesterday. He was not playing around.
14 threes, made 7. Didn't have a single 2-point basket, which was a little concerning. I like to see him drive more, but 7 threes, 4 free throws, 25 points. LaMelo Ball, he's not the most productive player in the NBA. He's not the most famous player in the NBA, but he's got to be top 5 most exciting player in the NBA to watch.
Absolutely.
And I'm not being biased. Jalen Rose, who is joining us in mere seconds on the program?
Is Impact. Boom from the cannon. Let's start the show.
Do it. Here's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
What they want.
Jalen is doing his hair with a tennis racket. That can only mean one thing. We have a big guest joining us later on in the show. The champ is here. Shakur Stevenson will be joining us in mere minutes. But we start the show with last night's NBA action in Brooklyn. The Brooklyn Nets needed a win. They were hosting the Washington Wizards, and they led from the tip to the buzzer. They made light work of the Wizards, and they got a good performance from Kevin Durant. Jalen, I know you watched this one just like I did. What do you think about this from the Nets?
This was a classic scheduling loss. Early in the season, Washington, short trip to get to hang out in the New York metropolitan area, and the road team just didn't show up. KD didn't have to be outstanding.
No.
Patty Mills has been outstanding. James Harden, still pedestrian. But I have to say something about my guy, Bertans. Keep getting them checks. Like, seriously, this man had 0 points yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember his three when he was in a contract year? When he was in a contract year, my man was shooting like 55% from 3, hitting 5 a game. But let's turn our attention back to the Nets that we've spoken about so much. James Harden did have a highlight 3, but he was 1 for 5 from 3. I still haven't seen the engaged, dominant James Harden that we saw not only in Houston, but also last year.
I don't see the pace. I don't see the enthusiasm. I don't see the engagement. He doesn't look happy to be there. And they did win the game. But I'm telling you, as this season continues to progress, I'm really going to be following his productivity, his body language, and if he signs his extension, which he has not done yet. I think this Kyrie scenario of not being vaccinated is taking a toll on the performance of James Harden. This man is one of the top 75 NBA players of all time. Like, I'm not talking about in the league right now. I'm talking about of all time. So we know the ability that he has, but it's just a little odd to see how he's performing so pedestrian early in the year.
I'm not going to overreact to just these opening games because I think that they will figure this out. They will be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I just haven't seen James Harden be the same. Even Blake Griffin hasn't been performing the same as he did last year. He was 1 for 7. And another name that we never talk about with this team, what happened to my guy Joe Harris? What happened to knockdown three-point shooter Joe Harris? What happened to him? He was 3 for 11 from 3 last night. Like, it's not just James Harden who isn't performing up to the standards that we expected. It is the entire team. But I have a lot of faith in this team being able to put together before and after Kyrie eventually gets vaccinated, which he will.
Joe Harris gave you a fly 11 that wasn't efficient. But I want to go back to the Nets up front. And you acknowledged Blake Griffin, who did return but wasn't very productive. I got something for you, Jacoby. If I'm the Nets, pay attention to the Kevin Love situation in Cleveland. If you notice, he played well last night.
I did.
I'm mentioning to you that they need some help up front. Stay tuned.
Kevin Love is not exactly a defensive stopper that they need, but he's definitely going to give you more than Millsap and Griffin and Aldridge, who wasn't playing because he's old and it was a back-to-back. Moving on to the undefeated Chicago Bulls. This one went down to the wire against Toronto in Toronto at the very end of the game. Vucevic on the line with a chance to ice it. Makes 1 of 2, and then Fred VanVleet crosses him up, has an opportunity to win the game. Couldn't do what Kawhi could, but that was a nice little move to give himself some space. Eventually, the Bulls end up getting the win. They are now 4-0. Jalen, it's still early, but is this reworked Bulls roster going to be a problem for the Eastern Conference?
So it's great to see the Bulls have a living, breathing general manager that's actually making moves and their team relevant again. And one of the things they did is get DeMar DeRozan. I don't care where he is. He's going to get you 20 to 25 points every night. I don't care who else is on the team. I don't care who's playing defense. And he got a chance to go back to Toronto, a place where someday they're going to retire his jersey. He was enthusiastic to play against his former squad. Great to see Lonzo Ball playing well also. And again, the streets of Toronto are undefeated. Trust me, I know. So for the Bulls to go through customs and still get a win and remain undefeated is really impressive. Please believe me.
I feel you're like 3 years in Toronto took away 15 years of your life. That's just kind of how I feel about how that math works. Now, Jalen, there's so much good vibes around the Bulls right now, but you know, sometimes I see things through a different light. So it is time for a character on the program called Negative Jacoby. He's got to come out. I'm sorry, Bulls fans. I'm sorry, Bulls fans.
No.
Enjoy your 4-0 start, Chicago Bulls fans. But 2 of those were against the Pistons. One was last night against the Raptors, and the other was against the Pelicans. Let's just take a look at what lies ahead on the schedule for the Chicago Bulls, because y'all not going to stay undefeated when you play the Knicks, the Celtics, the Sixers, the Mavericks, the Jazz, the Sixers again, the Nets, the Warriors, and that's just the next 8 games. Oh, then the Clippers, the Blazers, the Knicks, the Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Pacers. Like, y'all might, that's a tough one. So enjoy this right now, Chicago, but Negative Jacoby is here to tell you it is all about to fall apart. The wheels of this bandwagon are going to fall off, and this team's going to be about 5-7, 5-8 before you've even eaten Thanksgiving dinner. Sorry.
Negative Jacoby brought out the receipts, brought out the schedule. Shout to Candace Parker and the Chicago Sky. They brought a championship to her hometown. How about that?
Exactly. Enjoy that. Enjoy that, Chicago fans, because you'll not be enjoying the next month of Bulls basketball.